Okay, so this is a video just walking through one more time 53, 54, 55, and 56, and the types of things that you can expect. On 53, we will start by just multiplying out the left side. X squared minus 3kx plus 2kx minus 6k squared equals x squared plus 2k minus 24. I can also simplify the left side just a little bit because I've got these like terms here. So I get x squared minus kx minus 6k squared equals then x squared plus 2x minus 24. The key to these problems is looking for commonalities, looking for parts that are the same degree. X squared are the two terms that have the same degree. They don't really have k's in them, so I'm just going to kind of ignore those. But right here, I have a little bit more information. I know that those two need to be equal to each other because those are the only two terms that have an x in them, an x to the first power, which means that they have to be the same thing. Negative kx has to be equal to 2k if those two sides are to truly be equal to each other. Well, that also means that negative k has to be equal to 2, or that k has to be equal to negative 2. Okay, we have a k value. Now, let's go look at what happens when I do it with this piece here. So those are the terms, the negative 6k squared and the negative 24 are the terms that do not have an x in them, and they also should be equal to each other. If you divide both sides by negative 6, you get k squared is equal to 4, or k is equal to plus or minus 2. So this is telling you that k could be plus or minus 2. This is telling you that k has to be negative 2. We're going to reject this and just keep the negative 2 because that's the only one that works for both of them. So now let's look at the next one. 54 says that 2x plus k times x minus 2k now needs to be equal to 2x squared plus 9x minus 18. Well, if I multiply out the left side, I get 2x squared. Let's do the outer and inner together now. Minus 2kx plus kx. So minus 2kx and then plus kx is going to be negative 4 plus 1, or negative 3kx. And then do the lasts, we get negative 2k squared. And that needs to be equal to 2x squared plus 9x minus 18. All right, same idea. The 2x squareds are already equal to each other. We can ignore those. Then the next ones are these two. The negative 3kx and the positive 9x. Those need to be equal because those are the terms that have an x in them. That means that the coefficients should be equal. Negative 3k should be equal to 9, or k equals negative 3. And I get a k value that works. And if I substitute that in here, I can see that, yeah, those two are going to be the same thing. Negative 3 squared is 9, and 9 times negative 2 is negative 18. So that also works at the end of that. Okay, looking back at the next one, see if I can drag this down so I can keep this going. Drag this down a little bit more. Okay, now let's look at 54, or 55, sorry. If I multiply this out, I get 6x squared minus 4k, or plus 4k minus 3k, so that's plus kx, and minus 2k squared, and that needs to be equal to 6x squared plus kx minus 32. Well, the interesting thing about this is that both sides are equal in this part here. Both sides are equal in this part here. And we want to make them equal in this part here. And we want to make them equal by setting those two parts, the parts that don't have an x in them, equal to each other. So negative 2k squared has to be equal to negative 32, or k squared has to be equal to 16, which means that k could be equal to positive or negative 4. And then finally for 56, I have 3kx plus 2 quantity squared needs to be equal to 81x squared plus 12kx plus 4. And if I multiply this left side out, what I get is 9k squared x squared plus 12kx plus 4. And I need that to be equal to 81x squared plus 12kx plus 4. And if we look at the two terms that have an x squared in them, this term and this term, those need to be equal to each other. Well, if those are equal to each other, that means that the 9k squared needs to be equal to 81. I can ignore the rest of it because it's already equal. I just need to worry about that part. If I divide both sides by 9 and then take the square root, I get k is equal to plus or minus 3. So I hope that helps with those.